What God showed me about Charlie Kirk will shock you. Listen closely, because this is not just about a man, a leader, or a movement. It is about a divine revelation that will stir your heart and force you to see how God raises up certain voices in the world for purposes far beyond human imagination. I must speak with urgency, because the moment you hear what I am about to share, something inside you will awaken. You will see that when God marks a person, when God appoints a messenger for an hour of darkness, nothing on earth can silence that voice. What God showed me is not meant to flatter, not meant to entertain, but to shake us into understanding how the hand of God moves among us. God opened my eyes to see that Charlie Kirk is not simply a figure of politics, culture, or debate. No. What I saw was the deeper reason why he stands so boldly, why he speaks so strongly, why he refuses to bow to the pressures of a world that seeks to silence truth. God revealed that he is an example of how one person, yielded to the convictions placed in their soul, can become a vessel of awakening. God showed me that the world may mislabel him, mock him, or misunderstand him, but that is the very sign of divine calling. When God selects a person to speak truth, they will always be resisted, because truth shakes the comfortable lies of the world. And as I look deeper, God impressed upon me this truth. Many are waiting for permission to stand boldly in their faith, in their beliefs, in their convictions. But God sometimes points to a man like Charlie Kirk as a living signpost. A signpost not of perfection, not of flawless character, but of courage in the face of storms. God is saying through his example, if one voice can pierce the darkness, how much more could an army of awakened souls do? That is the shock. It is not just about him, but about what God is trying to show through him. God revealed that his boldness is not accidental, but strategic. It is not arrogance. It is the courage that flows when you know the truth is not yours but God's. I saw that God uses people like Charlie Kirk to awaken the timid, to challenge the silent, to provoke the fearful into asking, why am I quiet when he is loud? Why am I hidden when he is unafraid? God is showing us that courage is contagious, and when one person dares to rise, it compels others to find their voice. But here is the deeper shock. God also showed me that whenever he raises someone to speak, the attacks will be fierce. The louder the voice, the sharper the arrows, the clearer the truth, the darker the lies sent to destroy it. And what God is teaching us through this example is that when you stand for God's truth in any sphere, whether it be politics, family business, or personal life, you must expect to be hated, resisted, and targeted. Yet God says, do not fear, for I will shield you. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk is not that he is beyond weakness, but that his weakness only magnifies God's strength. The storms he faces are not because he is wrong, but because he has dared to shine light into darkness. And then God pressed upon my spirit this undeniable reality. So many of you listening are hiding your own voice. You are shrinking when you should be rising. You are silencing yourself when God has put fire in your mouth. The shock is not simply what God revealed about him, but what it reveals about you. God is saying, If I can use him, I can use you. If I can give him courage, I can give you courage. If I can sustain him in the midst of fire, I can sustain you in your trial. God showed me that Charlie Kirk is a symbol, a reminder that God places people in culture not just to speak ideas, but to wage a spiritual war. This is not a political matter, it is a divine matter. It is not about ideology, but about spiritual authority. God raises certain voices to challenge lies that are meant to enslave humanity, and when those voices rise, all of hell trembles. Do you see now why the attacks come? Because when one person stands in God's truth, they become a mirror reflecting what others are afraid to see. But let me take you deeper. God showed me that the shock is not in the man, but in the God who chooses the man. This is the mystery. God does not choose based on status, on age, on background, on wealth, or on fame. God chooses based on willingness. When a heart says, I will not compromise, God says, then I will use you. And when God uses you, you may not always be loved, but you will always be protected. The enemies may surround you, but God surrounds you more. The critics may rise, but God lifts you higher. What God showed me is this: the same spirit of courage you see in Charlie Kirk is not exclusive to him. It is available to you. God is saying, do not think that I only raise up a few. I am raising up a generation. But here is the tragedy. Many are refusing the call. Many are burying their voice. Many are watching from the sidelines while the world grows darker, waiting for someone else to rise. God is revealing through him that you no longer have the excuse of silence. You no longer have the excuse of fear. If one young man can stand boldly, then what excuse will you give when God asks why you hid? The revelation is this: God is calling you out of passivity. God is calling you out of compromise. God is calling you out of silence. And the shock is not in Charlie Kirk himself. The shock is in realizing that God wants to place the same fire in you. Do you feel it? That stirring inside, that conviction that you cannot keep living in shadows, that you cannot keep blending into the world, that you cannot keep hiding your faith, your convictions, your truth. God is saying, I rise. And God showed me something even greater. The shock is not only that he raises individuals, but that he uses them as sparks to ignite multitudes. One voice becomes a movement. One spark becomes a fire. One act of courage becomes a chain reaction of boldness. Do you understand what God is doing? He is not just lifting up Charlie Kirk to speak. He is lifting him as an example so that you will be provoked to action. God is saying, do not applaud courage, imitate it. Do not watch from a distance. Step into battle yourself. Beloved, what God revealed is urgent. The days are dark, the lies are loud, and the world is shaking. But in the midst of it, God is raising up voices, and through them, he is calling forth your own. Do not be shocked only at what God is doing through Charlie Kirk. Be shocked at what God wants to do through you. God is saying, your silence is no longer acceptable. Your compromise is no longer excusable. Your timidity is no longer permissible. God is ready to pour boldness into you, to give you a backbone of steel, to give you a tongue of fire, to give you a heart unafraid of rejection. But you must decide, will you step out of hiding? Will you declare what God has placed in you? Will you dare to stand when others bow? God showed me that what He wants to awaken in you will shock even you. You think you are ordinary, but God says you are chosen. You think you are weak, but God says you are strong in Him. You think you are unworthy, but God says you are appointed for this hour. So I say again, what God showed me about Charlie Kirk will shock you, not because of who he is, but because of what it reveals about who God wants you to be. Do not let the example pass you by. Do not dismiss it as another story. See it as a divine summons. God is calling you right now to step into your destiny, to open your mouth, to stand boldly, to fear nothing, to live unshaken, to shine without apology. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk goes deeper than a single man or a single voice. It is a window into how God moves in history, how God selects vessels, how God places courage inside fragile human hearts to confront forces that seem larger than life. Do not mistake this as a story about fame or about politics or about personality. No, it is a story about God's divine pattern, a pattern that repeats again and again across generations. God chooses unlikely instruments, God equips them with fire, and God positions them in the middle of chaos to prove that light will always pierce the darkness. Revealed to me that the reason people are shaken by voices like Charlie Kirk, not because the man is extraordinary in himself, but because the truth he carries cannot be ignored. When God places conviction in a person, it comes with weight. Words spoken under divine conviction carry a power that logic alone cannot generate. They unsettle, they awaken, they disturb, they provoke thought, and they ignite passion. And when the world hears this kind of truth, they must respond. They will either hate it or be humbled by it, but they cannot remain neutral. This is how you know God is behind a message. It shakes people from their slumber. But here is the deeper revelation. God is showing us that every one of us has been entrusted with a measure of truth. Yet most people bury it. Most people silence themselves because they fear the consequences of being bold. They fear losing friends, fear rejection, fear being misunderstood, fear standing alone. And so they live quiet, safe, invisible lives. But God is shouting through examples like Charlie Kirk, do not bury what I have placed in you. Do not hide what I have entrusted to you. Do not smother the fire that I lit within your soul. God is teaching that the world does not change through those who remain silent. It changes through those who dare to speak even when their voice trembles. And as God continued to show me, He pressed this truth deep into my heart. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is faith that speaks louder than fear. When I looked at Charlie Kirk through the lens God provided, I realized that he is not fearless, he is faithful. And that is the lesson for all of us. You do not need to be fearless to obey God. You do not need to have it all together. You do not need to have perfect eloquence or perfect confidence. What you need is a heart that says, God, I will not shrink back. And when you say that, when you make that choice, God clothes you with courage you could never manufacture on your own. Another angle God revealed to me is this. We live in an hour when truth itself is under attack. Lies are dressed in the garments of virtue. Deception is marketed as compassion. Darkness is celebrated as enlightenment. And those who dare to call a lie are labeled dangerous, intolerant, or hateful. Yet God is saying, I am raising voices who will not bend to the language of deception, who will not swallow the poison of compromise. And when you see someone stand boldly in such a climate, it is not meant to shock you into admiration alone. It is meant to shock you into recognition that God is calling you to the same boldness. God also showed me this powerful reality. The strength of a voice does not come from its volume, but from its alignment with truth. There are many loud voices in the world, many who shout endlessly, yet their words fall empty because they are disconnected from God's truth. But when God gives someone a message, when their voice aligns with His eternal truth, then even a whisper becomes thunder. Even a few words can pierce hearts like arrows. God is showing us that influence is not measured in numbers, but in impact. And He asks you today, are your words aligned with my truth, or are they just echoes of the world? The revelation continues. God showed me that the opposition one faces is the very sign of authenticity. When you carry God's message, resistance will meet you. Do not be shocked when critics multiply. Do not despair when friends walk away. Do not be dismayed when society mocks you. The truth is this: if you face no resistance, you are likely not carrying anything of divine significance. But if you face hostility, if you endure misunderstanding, if you feel the sting of rejection, rejoice, for you have been entrusted with a portion of what it means to walk in the calling of God. God is showing us through Charlie Kirk that resistance is not failure, it is confirmation. And I must tell you what God pressed even deeper. The shock is not only that one man can rise, but that God wants to raise a multitude. God is not satisfied with a few bold voices. He is calling for a generation that will roar with truth. Imagine the power if thousands of men and women refuse to be silenced. Imagine the shift if people in every city, every school, every workplace carried the same uncompromising conviction. The enemy trembles not because of one voice, but because of the army God is preparing through that one voice. God is showing you that your role is not to admire the messenger, but to become one yourself. And here is another layer. God is calling us to understand that truth without love becomes harsh, but love without truth becomes weak. The balance of the two is what makes a voice irresistible. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk is that when a person speaks with deep conviction while carrying a heart for the people, their words cannot easily be dismissed. People may fight them, but deep down, they know there is sincerity behind it. This is what God wants from you. Not that you speak truth to win arguments, but that you speak truth to rescue hearts. Truth spoken from pride cuts people down, but truth spoken from love lifts people up, even when it confronts them. God also revealed a warning when He raises voices to speak truth. Those who ignore them are not rejecting men. They are rejecting God's message. This is why the stakes are so high. When God places a messenger in your path, the response you give is not merely personal opinion. It reveals whether your heart is open or hardened. And when God raises people like Charlie Kirk, it is not for entertainment. It is a test of whether you will listen, reflect, and awaken, or whether you will dismiss, mock, and resist. God is watching not just the one who speaks, but the multitudes who listen. And God showed me something about timing. When God raises someone to speak, it is always in response to a need in the world. The message is always connected to the moment. If you look carefully, you will see that God does not send voices randomly. He sends them strategically. He positions them exactly when lies are loudest, when deception is most dangerous, when the people are most asleep. And so, when God revealed to me the significance of Charlie Kirk, I saw that this was not coincidence, it was timing. And in the same way, God is preparing you for your moment. Your timing will come. The hour will arrive when you will either stand or remain silent. And when that moment comes, may you remember this revelation: God will strengthen you if you choose to obey. Beloved, hear this clearly. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk is a mirror for all of us. The reflection is clear. You too are called to courage. You too are called to truth. You too are called to love boldly in a world that is collapsing under deception. And if you think this is impossible, if you think you are too small, too ordinary, hear the voice of God saying, I delight in using the ordinary to do the extraordinary. What shocks us about His choice is meant to shatter our excuses. God is not limited by your background, your education, your wealth, your connections, or your status. God looks for only one thing: a willing heart. And so, my heart cries as I deliver this message to you. The time is short, the hour is urgent, and the call of God is loud. Do not waste your days living in silence. Do not waste your life bowing to fear. Do not bury the fire that God has placed inside you. Rise now with boldness, with conviction, with love, with unshakable faith in God alone. This is the lesson, this is the revelation, and this is the challenge that God has delivered through the example of Charlie Kirk. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk shook me, because it reminded me of how God has always worked with humanity. Throughout history, God has chosen people not because they were the strongest, the smartest, or the most impressive in the eyes of the world, but because they carried a heart willing to stand when others bowed. God takes what seems ordinary and breathes upon it until it becomes extraordinary. And when I looked at this, God whispered into my spirit, this is not about one man. This is about the pattern of how I move. This is about how I want to move in you. God showed me that courage is not born in comfort. It is born in conflict. You do not learn to be bold when the crowd agrees with you. You learn to be bold when the crowd despises you. You do not discover your faith when life is easy. You discover your faith when life demands it. Charlie Kirk is not standing because the path is smooth. He is standing because God has allowed the opposition to sharpen him. And here lies the revelation: when God raises you, He also raises your opposition. The harder the storm, the deeper your roots must go. The louder the critics, the clearer your conviction must be. God does not shield you from the fire. He strengthens you in the fire. And so God asked me to tell you this: stop praying for an easy life. Stop begging for a path without resistance. Instead, pray for strength, pray for courage. Pray for a heart that will not bend under pressure. Because God is not looking for people who survive comfort. He is looking for people who can thrive in conflict. And when He finds them, He elevates them as examples, as He has done with Charlie Kirk. The shock is not that a young man can be so bold. The shock is that so many of us have settled for silence while God is calling us to roar. God also revealed something about vision. When He gives a person a vision rooted in truth, it becomes unstoppable. A vision from God is not swayed by public opinion, not silenced by critics, not destroyed by setbacks. It carries divine momentum. And when I saw what God was doing, I realized that Charlie Kirk is not driven by ambition alone. He is driven by vision. And vision cannot be manufactured by men. It comes from God. Without vision, people wander in confusion, following trends, bowing to whatever is popular. But with vision, a person becomes unshakable because they are anchored to something beyond themselves. God is asking you today, do you have a vision rooted in me? Or are you drifting in the chaos of the world? Another truth God impressed upon me is this: when He raises someone to speak truth, it will always divide. Truth is like a sword. It cuts. It separates light from darkness, right from wrong, courage from cowardice. Do not be shocked when truth offends. Do not be surprised when truth disrupts. The purpose of truth is not to keep people comfortable. It is to confront lies that have enslaved them. And this is why many despise truth, because it demands change. And what God is showing us through the example of Charlie Kirk is that if you dare to speak truth, you must be prepared for division. But remember this: division is not failure. Division is evidence that truth has done its work. And here is the deeper wisdom. God uses opposition not only to test the messenger, but also to expose the hearts of the listeners. When a bold voice rises, people reveal who they really are by how they respond. Some will hate because their hearts are hardened. Some will awaken because their hearts are humble. The same truth that sets one person free will enrage another. And God is showing us that the presence of opposition is not the end of a message. It is the beginning of transformation. Without resistance, there is no refining. Without division, there is no clarity. Without challenge, there is no change. But God showed me something else, something even more shocking. He showed me that every generation has its appointed voices, but if the people ignore them, the consequence is not just personal, it is societal. When God sends truth and it is rejected, darkness spreads faster. Lies become laws. Evil becomes normalized. And soon a generation reaps the harvest of their rejection. This is why God raises people like Charlie Kirk, not to entertain, not to gather applause, but to warn. And if we dismiss the warning, we cannot escape the consequences. God is asking us all, will you listen, or will you harden your heart? Beloved, God is not asking you to become a copy of someone else. He is not asking you to mimic Charlie Kirk. He is asking you to find your own voice, rooted in your own calling. But the principle is the same: courage, conviction, faith, and obedience. What shocks us about his boldness is not meant to make us spectators. It is meant to make us participants. God is saying, I am calling you out of the shadows. I am calling you out of complacency. I am calling you out of silence. Rise up and speak what I have placed in you. Oh, God also reminded me of this unshakable truth. The world does not change through the majority. It changes through the remnant. History is never shaped by those who blend in, but by those who dare to stand out. One man who stands in truth outweighs 1,000 who remain silent. One woman who refuses to bow can shake an empire. And when God lifts up a voice like Charlie Kirk, He is showing you that one person truly can make a difference. Do not underestimate the power of one life surrendered to God. Do not underestimate the impact of one person who refuses to compromise. For it is not the size of the messenger that matters. It is the size of the God who stands behind them. And so the question God places before you is this: will you be silent, or will you be bold? Will you bury your gift, or will you release it? Will you fear the opinions of men, or will you fear God alone? Do not waste your life living small. Do not waste your breath hiding truth. Do not let fear silence what God has commanded you to speak. For one day, you will stand before God and He will ask you, what did you do with the voice I gave you? Did you use it, or did you bury it? This is why God showed me what He did. Not to elevate a man, but to awaken a people. Not to glorify a voice, but to stir many voices. Not to shock us with an example, but to provoke us into action. The message is clear. If God can raise one, He can raise you. If God can strengthen one, He can strengthen you. If God can use one, He can use you. The time for silence is over. The hour for compromise is gone. The season for passivity has ended. God is calling you, yes, to rise with conviction, to stand with courage, and to live with unshakable faith in Him alone. And now I must leave you with the very heartbeat of what God showed me. Listen carefully, for these are not words to entertain your ears, but to pierce your soul. God has made it clear, the world does not need more silent believers, more fearful dreamers, or more people waiting for someone else to rise. The world needs you. Yes, you who are listening right now, you may think you are too small, too unworthy, too ordinary, but God is saying, I created you for this exact moment. I place you here in this generation, not to hide, but to shine. Do not underestimate the power of one life fully yielded to God. Do not underestimate what He can do when you stop running from your calling and start running into His arms of strength. The courage you admire in others is the same courage God wants to deposit inside you. The boldness you applaud in another is the same boldness waiting to be awakened in your spirit. What God showed me about Charlie Kirk was not meant to make you a spectator. It was meant to awaken you to your own divine summons. The time for excuses is over. The time for compromise is gone. The time for hiding has ended. God is calling you to rise, to step forward with unshakable faith, to open your mouth without fear, and to walk into your destiny with fire in your soul. You are not here by accident. You are not alive by chance. God Himself placed breath in your lungs for a purpose greater than yourself. So I challenge you, do not leave this moment unchanged. Do not walk away and forget the stirring in your heart. Let this be the day you decide, once and for all, to live boldly, to live fearlessly, to live in full surrender to God's calling on your life. Stand when others bow, speak when others are silent, shine when others hide. For when you do, the world will know that God still raises voices, God still works through vessels, and God still calls ordinary people to carry extraordinary truth. Now the choice is yours. Will you bury your voice, or will you unleash it? Will you shrink in fear, or will you rise in faith? God is waiting for your answer. Step into the call. Step into the fire. Step into the destiny that has been waiting for you since the moment you were born. Live boldly for God and never look back. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. I want you to hear me clearly today, not with the ears of your flesh, but with the ears of your spirit. There is a line that God has drawn, a divine boundary, a sacred hedge of protection that no power of darkness can cross. It is not drawn by human hands. It is not written in the dust of this earth. It is sealed in the heavenly realm by the authority of God Almighty. The enemy may roar like a lion. He may shake the foundations of your world. He may come near to frighten you, but he cannot step over the line that God Himself has drawn to protect you. This is not a possibility. It is a certainty. When God establishes a boundary, it is eternal, immovable, and unshakable. You see, the devil is a trespasser. He always tries to enter into places where he has no authority. He whispers lies into your mind. He stirs fear into your heart. He plants doubt into your spirit. But he has limits. He is not sovereign. He is not in control. He is not all-powerful. He is restrained. He is confined. He is blocked by the hand of God. And the moment you understand this, your fear will die, your doubts will dissolve, and your faith will rise like a mountain that cannot be shaken. The devil may stand on the other side, but he is powerless to cross over into the territory that God has claimed as His own. What is this bloodline? It is the mark of divine ownership. It is the invisible wall of separation between what belongs to God and what belongs to destruction. It is the spiritual barrier that says, this is mine. It is the proclamation of God over your life, your family, your destiny, that no curse, no witchcraft, no evil power, no demonic spirit, no darkness can penetrate. It is not made with the strength of men, but with the authority of God Himself. When God draws a line, no creature in heaven or on earth or under the earth can erase it. When He places His protection, it is untouchable. This is why the devil cannot cross this bloodline. Many of you are living in fear because you think the enemy has unlimited access to your life. You think he can steal from you whenever he pleases. You think he can afflict you at his own will. But I declare to you today, that is a lie. He is limited. He is restricted. He is chained by the authority of God. Yes, he can bark. Yes, he can threaten. Yes, he can try to intimidate you. But intimidation is not invasion. He can stand at the border, but he cannot cross the line that God has drawn around you. Fear gives him power he does not truly have. Doubt gives him room he does not deserve. But when you know the truth, you stand firm, you rise tall, and you declare with boldness, the devil cannot cross this bloodline. Think of it this way. When God protected His people in ancient times, He did not just give them weapons, He gave them separation. He made a difference between His children and the children of destruction. When darkness covered the land, light remained in the dwellings of his people. When destruction struck the nations, safety reigned among those who were his. Why? Because there was a divine line, invisible to men, but unbreakable to the enemy. That same principle remains true today. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but in the realm of the Spirit, there's a hedge, a wall, a covering over you. This is the bloodline. This is the barrier. This is the divine no entry sign against every force of darkness. The devil cannot cross it. And yet, the enemy thrives on deception. He wants you to believe he has crossed. He wants you to think that sickness has broken through, that poverty has breached the wall, that depression has invaded your territory. But let me tell you, those are only lies. They are illusions designed to make you surrender your peace, your confidence, and your authority. The enemy does not conquer by power. He conquers by deception. If you believe his lies, you will act defeated. But if you hold on to the truth of God's protection, you will stand undefeated. The truth is this: there is a bloodline, and the devil cannot cross it. My friend, the reason you are still standing, the reason you are not consumed, the reason you are not destroyed, is because God has kept you behind his line of protection. Look back over your life. Think of the times you should have fallen, the times you should have been broken, the times you should have lost everything. Yet here you are, not because you are strong, not because you are wise, but because the hand of God kept you. The enemy tried, but he failed. He plotted, but he could not succeed. He wanted to cross the line, but he was stopped. And if God has kept you this far, what makes you think he will abandon you now? He who drew the line yesterday is still guarding it today, and he will guard it tomorrow. The enemy hates boundaries because they remind him of his defeat. He cannot enter where God has forbidden. He cannot destroy what God has preserved. He cannot steal what God has secured. He cannot touch what God has marked. That is why he trembles at the sight of faith. Faith is the reminder that you know the truth. Faith is the weapon that makes you unshakable. Faith is the bold declaration that says, I am protected, I am covered, I am untouchable. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. And when you speak that truth with conviction, the enemy has no choice but to retreat. But hear me, this is not a call to sit in passivity. This is not a call to sleep while the enemy shouts. No, this is a call to stand in the authority of God. This is a call to lift your voice and declare the truth daily. This is a call to guard your mind against the lies of fear. This is a call to walk boldly, knowing that God has marked your life. Do not give the devil room with your words. Do not give him ground with your doubts. Do not give him access with your fear. Stand behind the bloodline with confidence. Speak the truth. Declare the promises of God. Live in the assurance of his covering. The devil knows he cannot cross, but he also knows that if you believe he can, you will act as though you are unprotected. Do not fall into that trap. Recognize the schemes of the enemy. Expose his lies. Crush his deception and proclaim with a loud voice, God has set a boundary around me. I am sealed. I am preserved. I am protected. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. This bloodline is not only over your life, it is over your family. Your children are covered. Your household is marked. Your generations are sealed. The enemy may try to whisper curses. He may try to stir up confusion. He may try to plant seeds of destruction, but he cannot cross the line. Do not fear for your children. Do not tremble for your household. Place them before God daily and know that they are within the boundary of divine protection. Even when they are far from your eyes, they are never far from His. Even when you cannot guard them, He is guarding them. And His protection is greater than anything you could provide. This bloodline is also over your destiny. Many of you fear the future. You wonder if the enemy will steal what God has promised. You wonder if he will destroy your calling, if he will rob you of your purpose. But I tell you today, he cannot. The future God has written for you cannot be erased by the devil's hands. The destiny God has sealed cannot be altered by the enemy's schemes. The plan of God is sovereign, immovable, unstoppable. The devil cannot cross into your tomorrow. He cannot invade the future God has ordained. Your path is secured by the one who holds eternity in his hand. Walk boldly. Walk with confidence. Walk as one who is untouchable. Let me tell you, there is no curse, no witchcraft, no spell, no dark power that can break through the bloodline of God. People may plot, they may speak against you, they may rise up in envy and hatred, but their words are powerless. They may curse, but the curse will return to their own lips. They may send arrows, but the arrows will fall harmless at the boundary. They may gather against you, but their gathering will scatter in confusion. Why? Because there is a line, because you are marked, because you are preserved by God. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. And this truth must burn inside your heart. You are not fighting for victory. You are standing in victory. You are not trying to win. You have already been marked as one who is protected. The battle is not to see whether you will be destroyed. The battle is only whether you will believe the truth or the lie. If you believe the truth, you will live in peace. If you believe the lie, you will live in fear. Choose today to believe the truth. Choose today to declare the authority of God over your life. Choose today to rise with boldness and say, I am behind the bloodline and no power of darkness can touch me. The world may tremble. Nations may shake. Economies may collapse. Disasters may strike. But the one who is behind the bloodline of God remains unshaken. The one who is covered by His hand remains unmovable. Do not let your heart be troubled by what you see around you. Do not let your faith be shaken by the storms of life. You are preserved. You are protected. You are marked. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. The devil cannot cross this bloodline because it is God Himself who has drawn it with His eternal authority. A line placed by man can be erased. A wall built by man can be torn down. But when God establishes a boundary, it is unshakable and indestructible. The enemy may rage, but his rage is powerless against the hand of God. The enemy may plot in darkness, but his plans crumble when they come face to face with the light of God's protection. The enemy may shout lies, but the truth of God silences his voice. This is why you must anchor your heart in the assurance that you are living under divine separation. You are not unguarded. You are not exposed. You are marked and covered by the one who rules all of creation. Think for a moment about what the enemy fears most. He does not fear your possessions. He does not fear your knowledge. He does not fear your position in this world. What he fears is the mark of God upon you. He fears the invisible protection that surrounds you. He fears the authority that God has sealed over your life. That is why he works so hard to distract you from the truth. He wants you to look at what is visible and forget what is invisible. He wants you to see the storm and forget the shelter. He wants you to see the arrows flying and forget the shield that is raised above you. But when you turn your eyes back to God and recognize his protective hand, fear loses its grip and you stand immovable. The bloodline of God is not simply a barrier, it is a testimony. It proclaims to every force of darkness, this one belongs to God. It is a spiritual banner that declares ownership. Just as a shepherd marks his sheep, just as a king seals his property, God has marked you as his own. This is why the enemy cannot invade your destiny. He cannot write a new story over what God has already sealed. He cannot undo what God has already decreed. When God has said, "This one is mine," that declaration echoes through eternity. Every spirit of darkness hears it. Every power of destruction recognizes it. Every demon trembles before it. And yet, many of you live as though you are unmarked. You walk in fear as if the devil can come and go as he pleases. You lose sleep at night thinking of what could happen. You tremble at the thought of attacks that may come. But let me tell you, you are not exposed to the will of darkness. You are not left unguarded on the battlefield. You are encircled by the line of God. He has stationed his protection around you. He has spoken his authority over you. And when the devil sees that line, he knows he cannot pass. He may threaten, but he cannot touch. He may shout, but he cannot step across. The wisdom of God is this: protection is not found in running from the enemy. It is found in standing behind the boundary God has already drawn. Many try to fight in their own strength, to resist in their own wisdom, to overcome in their own ability. But the true place of safety is surrender to the covering of God. When you place yourself fully under his authority, you place yourself fully within his protection. It is not your fight, it is his. It is not your wall, it is his. It is not your strength that keeps the devil back. It is the power of God's bloodline that holds him at a distance. Do not forget, the enemy studies you, he observes you. He looks for weaknesses in your armor. But the moment he sees you standing in faith, declaring the authority of God over your life, he knows he is defeated. Faith is what activates your awareness of the bloodline. Faith is what strengthens your confidence in God's protection. Faith is what keeps you unmoved when the storm rages. Without faith, you tremble at the shadows. With faith, you laugh at the darkness because you know the truth. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. Let me show you another angle. The bloodline of God is not only protection, it is a pathway. It does not only keep evil out, it keeps you in. It keeps you aligned with the will of God. It keeps you walking in his order. It keeps you from wandering into destruction. When God draws a line, He is not only keeping darkness from entering, He is keeping you from leaving the place of safety. And how many times has He pulled you back from choices that would have led to disaster? How many times has He closed doors that you thought were good, but in reality were traps? That is the bloodline at work. It is guiding you, preserving you, steering your destiny away from harm. The devil may try to convince you that God's boundary is a prison. He will whisper, why not step outside? Why not explore the other side? Why limit yourself? But those are lies designed to lure you into destruction. The boundary of God is not a prison. It is freedom. It is safety. It is peace. It is the assurance that while the world crumbles, you are held together. It is the promise that while the enemy rages, you remain untouchable. To stay behind the bloodline is to live in the fullness of God's protection. To step outside of it is to expose yourself to battles you were never meant to fight. This bloodline also guards your mind. The greatest battleground the enemy attacks is not outside of you. It is within you. He plants lies. He stirs confusion. He brings fear. He magnifies worry. But when your mind is surrendered to God, the bloodline surrounds your thoughts. His peace becomes the guard over your heart. His truth becomes the shield against every lie. His promises become the anchor that holds you firm. When your mind is aligned with God, no arrow of the enemy can pierce through. The devil may attempt to sow doubt, but the seed will not take root, because the soil of your heart is already sealed by God's protection. And let us not forget the most powerful truth. This bloodline does not fade. It does not weaken with time. It does not lose its power with age. The same God who drew it yesterday is guarding it today and will preserve it tomorrow. His protection is eternal because His word is eternal. The enemy may change his tactics, but the line of God remains unmoved. The seasons of your life may change, but the boundary of God remains fixed. You may grow old, you may pass through valleys, you may face storms, but the bloodline of God remains unshaken. That is why you can rest. That is why you can walk in peace. That is why you can declare with boldness, no matter what comes against me, no matter what I face, the devil cannot cross this bloodline. The protection of God is not just for individuals, it is for nations. When a people rise up to honor God, when a community surrenders to His authority, He draws a line around them. The enemy may rage against the land, but God preserves those who are His. History is filled with moments where destruction came near, but it did not consume, because God marked His own. And this is true not only on the grand scale, but also in your own household. When you honor God in your home, when you dedicate your family to His authority, He draws a bloodline around your dwelling. Darkness cannot invade a house that God has sealed. Evil cannot dominate a family that is surrendered to Him. That is why you must rise as a watchman over your home. Declare daily that your household belongs to God. Speak with boldness that your family is protected. Pray with authority that the line of God surrounds every room, every door, every member of your house. Do not leave your family exposed to the whispers of fear or the lies of darkness. Stand tall as one who knows the truth. Guard them not with human strength, but with faith in the bloodline of God. And as you stand, watch how peace fills your home, how confusion flees, how harmony reigns. The devil cannot cross the bloodline of a surrendered family. And to you who are worried about your future, hear me now. The bloodline of God is already ahead of you. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but God does. And He has already drawn the line across your path. He has already marked your steps. He has already sealed your destiny. The devil may try to whisper fear about what is coming, but the future is not in his hands, it is in God's. And God has already declared, the enemy cannot cross into what I have ordained. Walk boldly into tomorrow. Walk with courage into the unknown. You are not walking unprotected. You are walking behind the line of God's eternal covering. This is why you must live with boldness. This is why you must rise with confidence. This is why you must stop trembling at shadows and start declaring the truth. Every time fear rises, speak the truth. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. Every time doubt whispers, speak with authority. I am marked by God. I am covered by God. I am preserved by God. Every time the enemy threatens, remind him, you have no power here. You have no access here. You cannot cross this bloodline. The moment you start declaring truth with conviction, your faith ignites, your peace strengthens, and your spirit soars above every lie. My beloved, the devil cannot cross this bloodline because it is not a line of human strength. It is the eternal seal of God. And this truth must become the fire that burns within you, the anchor that steadies you, the courage that pushes you forward. Too long have you allowed fear to dictate your steps. Too long have you trembled at the shadows. Too long have you doubted your protection. But today, rise up with a new spirit. Rise up with holy confidence. Rise up with the assurance that the hand of God surrounds you on every side. Do not live as though you are unguarded. Live as one who knows you are preserved. Do not walk as though you are vulnerable. Walk as one who knows you are untouchable by the power of darkness. Do not think of yourself as abandoned. Think of yourself as chosen, marked, and secured by God Almighty. There is a bloodline around your life, your family, your destiny, and no power of hell can cross it. Not yesterday, not today, not tomorrow. The storms may rage, but they cannot consume you. The arrows may fly, but they cannot pierce you. The plots may form, but they cannot succeed. You are not at the mercy of destruction. You are preserved by the decree of God. And when you truly believe this, when you hold this truth deep in your heart, when you speak it with your mouth and live it with your actions, you will rise to a new level of peace, a new level of strength, a new level of unshakable faith. So I challenge you, leave this place of fear. Step out of doubt. Stop giving power to the lies of the enemy. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and declare with unbreakable conviction, I belong to God. I am sealed by His authority. I am behind His bloodline, and no force of darkness can touch me. Let this become the song of your heart, the declaration of your spirit, the anthem of your life. Carry this truth into every battle. Carry it into every valley. Carry it into every season of your life. And as you do, you will see the enemy retreat. You will see chains break. You will see peace flood your soul. you will see the evidence of God's protection manifest in your life again and again. Now walk in courage. Walk in boldness. Walk in the unshakable faith that the devil cannot cross this bloodline. Let your life itself be the testimony. Let your peace be the proof. Let your unbroken spirit be the sign to all who watch you. You are marked. You are preserved. You are untouchable in the hands of Almighty God. The devil cannot cross this bloodline. And because of that, you will stand, you will endure, and you will fulfill the purpose for which you were created. So rise up, believe it, declare it, and live it. The hand of God is upon you, and no power of darkness can prevail. Have you ever wondered why your life feels as though something invisible is pulling you backward? No matter how hard you push forward, have you ever felt the strange weight of unseen chains, as if every step toward progress is blocked by something you cannot see? There are moments when you are about to break through, but suddenly everything collapses. There are nights when fear grips you, though no enemy is in sight. There are cycles in families where sickness repeats, poverty remains, and relationships are destroyed in the same way generation after generation. My friend, this is no coincidence. This is not mere misfortune. These are signs of evil, signs of witchcraft at work, signs of the unseen hand of darkness trying to suffocate the light of God within you. But hear me clearly. God never leaves his people without weapons. God never sends his children into battle without armor. God has hidden mysteries in creation itself. And one of the most profound mysteries that carries power when placed in the hands of faith is salt. And when you freeze salt with faith, declaring the authority of God over your life, you are not performing superstition. You are declaring war on darkness and commanding the forces of witchcraft to stop cold in their tracks. Salt is no ordinary substance. It preserves, it purifies, it protects. God created salt to fight corruption, to prevent decay, to carry the symbol of covenant and permanence. Salt resists rot, and in the same way, when consecrated before God, salt in your hands resists evil. Evil seeks to rot your destiny. Witchcraft seeks to corrupt your peace. Curses seek to eat away at your blessings. But salt stands as a divine witness of preservation. And when you freeze salt, you are declaring that the corruption of the enemy, the rot of darkness, the decay of witchcraft will no longer spread in your life. You are freezing the works of evil, locking them in stillness, declaring that they can no longer advance, no longer move, no longer operate against you. The problem is that many people underestimate the schemes of the enemy. They laugh at the idea of witchcraft. They say, that belongs to old times, to ancient cultures. And yet, they cannot explain why their money disappears without reason, why their health fails without cause, why their homes are filled with endless conflict, why they are bound in habits they cannot break. They refuse to see that darkness is real. But those who are wise, those who are awake, those who look through the eyes of faith, understand that we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with powers of evil that seek to cover our lives in shadows. To those who see, God provides keys. And one of those keys is this mystery of salt. When you hold salt in your hand and lift it before God, you are holding a declaration. You are holding something that symbolizes the incorruptible nature of His covenant. And when you freeze it in faith, you are saying to every curse, every spell, every charm, every word spoken against you, enough. You will go no further. You will remain bound and powerless. The frozen salt becomes a seal of faith, a wall erected in the spiritual realm that evil cannot cross. It becomes a line drawn in the sand that witches cannot step over. It becomes a barrier around your life, declaring that you belong to God, and God alone governs your destiny. There are people who go to bed every night tormented by strange dreams. They see shadows. They feel attacks pressing upon their chest. They wake up more tired than when they slept. They hear voices whispering fear, confusion, and destruction. They see the faces of people they know working against them in the spirit. And they wonder, why me? Why am I under such attack? But listen to me, the more the enemy attacks you, the more it is proof that you are carrying something valuable. Darkness does not waste energy on the empty. Witchcraft does not pursue the insignificant. Evil does not chase after the powerless. If you are under attack, it is because God has placed something precious in you. Something the enemy fears. Something the enemy wants to stop. And that is why you must not remain passive. You must not simply accept torment as normal. You must rise in faith. Take the weapons God has given you and fight back. And one of those weapons is to take salt, consecrate it, freeze it, and declare that every attack launched against your life is frozen in its place and powerless before God. You may ask, why freezing? Why not simply holding or scattering? Because freezing is the symbol of stopping motion, of binding action, of halting movement. Evil works in cycles. It moves, it circulates, it repeats. Curses move through families. Witchcraft repeats in generations. Patterns of destruction flow like rivers. But when you freeze salt in faith, you are stopping the river of darkness. You are declaring that the movement of evil has ended. You are saying to the cycles of sickness, you will move no further. You are saying to the cycle of poverty, you are frozen and powerless. You are saying to the cycles of broken marriages, you will not continue in my life. You are saying to the arrows of witchcraft, you are frozen mid-flight and you cannot touch me. This is not ritual. This is not magic. This is faith in action, using what God has created as a point of contact to declare His authority over every work of darkness. I tell you today, do not underestimate this mystery. For God always uses the simple to confound the mighty. He used a rod in the hand of Moses to split seas. He used stones in the hand of David to bring down giants. He used clay on blind eyes to restore vision. He can use salt in your hand to dismantle witchcraft. Do not despise what looks small, for in the hands of faith, the small becomes mighty. In the heart of belief, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Salt in your hand, frozen with prayer, becomes a weapon against which no curse can stand. Think about your life. What has been chasing you? What has been resisting you? What doors have been locked, no matter how much you knock? What blessings have been delayed, no matter how much you work? It is time to declare that the delay is over. It is time to declare that the chase is ended. It is time to declare that the witchcraft has failed. It is time to freeze salt and, with the authority of God, to freeze every work of evil against your destiny. And when you do not do it with doubt. Do not do it with fear. Do it with faith, knowing that the God who created salt is the same God who hears your cry, sees your battle, and delights in your victory. The enemy thrives on fear. Witchcraft feeds on your trembling. Curses draw power from your belief in their strength. But when you turn to God with unwavering faith, you strip the enemy of all authority. Fear is the open door, faith is the barricade. Fear invites, faith resists. And freezing salt is an act of faith, a visible declaration that you will no longer bow to fear. You are drawing a line with God. You are saying, I refuse to live under the shadow of witchcraft. I refuse to allow evil to dictate my destiny. I refuse to accept bondage as my portion. My portion is freedom. My portion is peace. My portion is blessing. My portion is life. Because my portion is God. Every curse has an origin. Every spell has a source. And when you freeze salt, you are speaking directly to those sources, declaring that their power has ended. You are saying to the one who speaks curses against you in secret, your words are frozen and void. You are saying to the one who mixes charms with your name, your charms are frozen and powerless. You are saying to the one who rises against you in envy and hatred, your plans are frozen before they reach me. The salt you freeze becomes a witness before God that you have declared your trust in Him and your rejection of every chain the enemy seeks to place upon you. My friend, do not be timid. Do not hold back. Evil is bold, witchcraft is aggressive, curses are unrelenting. Why should you be silent? Why should you be passive? Rise with boldness, rise with authority, rise with faith, and declare with your actions that you are a child of God, and no power of darkness has the right to touch you. When you freeze salt in faith, you are sending a message into the unseen realm, a message that every demon, every spirit of witchcraft, every curse, and every evil force understands life is sealed. This destiny is preserved. This person belongs to God, and God's authority is final. Even as I speak now, some of you can feel a stirring in your spirit. You know this is for you. You know you have been under attack. You know there have been forces working against your peace. You know that what I am saying is the truth your spirit has long been waiting to hear. Do not dismiss it. Do not turn away. Take hold of this word, act on it, freeze salt in faith, and watch what God will do. Watch as the nightmares end. Watch as the confusion lifts. Watch as the cycles break. Watch as the chains fall. Watch as the curses scatter. Watch as the witchcraft collapses. For God is faithful, and God will not allow His child to remain bound. Do not delay. Do not hesitate. Do not allow another day of torment to pass. God has already provided the key. The weapon is already in your hand. The authority is already given. The power is already yours. Freeze salt and free yourself from all evil and witchcraft, because when you act in faith, the power of God moves, and when the power of God moves, no darkness can stand. Let me take you deeper, because what I am speaking about is not a surface matter. It is a profound reality of the spiritual world. Too many people live blind, to the invisible realm. They rise in the morning, they eat, they work, they laugh. They plan, but they never pause to realize that around them rages a war unseen, but constant, fierce, but silent. There are powers of darkness watching, plotting, whispering, seeking to ensnare. They are patient, they are cunning, they are relentless. But above them all, greater than them all, sovereign over them all, is God. And when you belong to God, when you stand under His covering, you need not tremble. For what He gives you as a shield, as a key, as a weapon, is enough to silence the strategies of darkness. That is why I tell you, do not laugh at the mystery of salt. Do not dismiss it as too simple. For in the hands of faith, God has turned the ordinary into extraordinary from the beginning of time. Salt is not merely a mineral. It is a divine creation carrying meaning, carrying weight, carrying power when consecrated to the Almighty. You see, evil seeks movement. It seeks to flow like water, to seep into cracks, to spread like fire. That is why curses repeat in generations. That is why witchcraft often feels like it circles again and again. It is because evil thrives in cycles, in motion, in repetition. But when you take salt and freeze it in the presence of God, you are announcing to every cycle no more. You are declaring that what has moved against you will stop. You are cutting the circuit of darkness. You are binding the currents of evil. Freezing salt is not superstition. It is the act of saying, God, as this salt stops moving, so too must every evil current against me stop. And in that act of faith, God moves. He honors the declaration of a heart that believes. But hear me, the power is not in the salt alone. The power is in God who made the salt. The power is in the faith that looks to God through the salt. Without God, salt is just a mineral. With God, salt becomes a shield. Without God, freezing salt is only ice. With God, freezing salt is a proclamation in the unseen realm that demons cannot ignore. This is the difference between ritual and faith. Ritual is empty. Faith is filled with power because it leans on God alone. When you freeze salt in faith, you are not trusting in salt. You are trusting in God who gave salt meaning. You are saying, God, you are my protector. You are my shield. You are my deliverer. As this salt freezes, let the schemes of darkness freeze also. And let me speak plainly, witchcraft cannot withstand faith. Evil cannot endure the fire of a heart wholly given to God. Demons cannot cross the barrier erected by unwavering trust in the Almighty. They may try to whisper, they may try to frighten, they may try to linger at the edges of your life. But the moment you rise with conviction and declare that your life belongs to God, they scatter. They are cowards before His majesty. They are powerless before His greatness. They tremble before His authority. But you must believe, you must rise, you must take the stand. For many who claim to trust God still live in fear, still bow in their minds to curses, still give too much credit to evil. They whisper about witchcraft in hushed tones, as though it has greater power than the Creator Himself. But I tell you, God is supreme. God alone has the final word. Freezing salt is a symbol of that final word. It is the physical manifestation of your declaration that evil does not write your story. Witchcraft does not decide your destiny. Curses do not define your life. Only God does. And when God defines a thing, it is settled forever. When He blesses, no curse can overturn it. When He speaks life, no death can cancel it. When He opens doors, no darkness can shut them. This is why your act of faith matters. It aligns you with the eternal decree of God. It declares that you agree with His power, that you reject the lies of evil, that you embrace the victory already secured by His sovereignty. Some of you listening right now feel as though you are drowning. Problems are piling up. Attacks come from every direction. Your nights are restless, your days are heavy, and your heart feels weak. You wonder if you will ever find relief, if you will ever know peace. I tell you with the authority of truth, God has not forgotten you. You are not abandoned. You are not cursed beyond hope. You are not lost in the maze of witchcraft forever. The very fact that you are hearing these words means that God is speaking to you, that He is pulling you into light, that He is showing you a path of freedom. And part of that path is to rise with faith, to take salt, to freeze it, and to declare your liberty. It may sound small, it may look simple, but in the realm of the Spirit, it is thunder, it is lightning, it is fire that scatters darkness. Do not think that freedom will come only by chance. Do not wait for evil to grow tired of you. Evil never rests. Witchcraft never takes holidays. Curses do not retire on their own. If you do not resist, they will advance. If you do not confront, they will dominate. If you do not rise, they will trample. But if you rise in God's name, if you take the weapons He has given, if you stand with faith in your heart and fire in your spirit, nothing can touch you. The forces that once mocked you will fear you. The spirits that once attacked you will retreat. The curses that once held you will break. Because when a person stands with God, they are unstoppable. When you freeze salt in faith, you are proclaiming that unstoppable authority. You are reminding yourself and announcing to the unseen that your God reigns and no witchcraft has permission to touch your life. And let me tell you another truth: words carry power. Witchcraft often works through words, words spoken in envy, words whispered in anger, words chanted in rituals. Words are arrows in the mouth of those who hate you. But words of faith are stronger. Words aligned with God are sharper. Words spoken in conviction silence the voices of curses. So when you freeze salt, do not stay silent. Speak, declare, announce. Say, by the authority of God, every curse spoken against me is frozen and powerless. Every evil word will not prosper. Every voice of witchcraft is silenced. Your words, combined with the act of faith, become a force the enemy cannot withstand. You see, the enemy fears the believer who knows their authority in God. Not the one who simply prays timidly, not the one who trembles before every shadow, but the one who stands firm and says, "My God is greater. My God is stronger. My God is my shield." That believer becomes a fire in the spirit realm, and darkness flees from them. That is who you must become. That is who you already are, if only you will believe. Freezing salt is one way to express that belief, to put action to faith, to declare with your whole being that you are no longer under the grip of witchcraft. So rise today. Shake off the dust of fear. Break the chains of timidity. Lift your head and declare that you belong to God. Take salt, Freeze it, and with every frozen grain declare that the works of evil are stopped in their tracks. Walk through your home with boldness. Speak over your family with confidence. Stand over your future with assurance. For God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of strength. God has not called you to be a victim, but a victor. God has not destined you for bondage, but for freedom. And the act of freezing salt is a step into that freedom, a tangible act of faith, declaring that your life is sealed, preserved, and secured by the power of God. Let me open your eyes to a truth many refuse to face. The greatest battle you fight is not in the marketplace, not in your workplace, not even in the arguments of daily life. The greatest battle is unseen, fought in silence, waged in shadows, where forces of evil plot your downfall without rest. Witchcraft does not announce itself with trumpets. Evil does not always march in broad daylight. Instead, it works quietly. It creeps slowly. It hides behind smiles. It masks itself in familiar voices. It uses envy, jealousy, anger, and hatred as doors to enter. And while you live thinking it is only coincidence, it is weaving webs around your destiny. But the power of God is sharper than every web, brighter than every shadow, stronger than every force of witchcraft. And the wisdom of God is this: He gives His children symbols, weapons, and mysteries so they will never be helpless. Salt is one of those mysteries. Freezing salt is a proclamation, a holy declaration that the hidden works of evil will be exposed, bound, and destroyed by the hand of the Almighty. You must understand that witchcraft operates by agreement. It thrives when people unknowingly agree with fear, when they submit to lies, when they tolerate patterns of destruction as normal. As long as you agree with evil, it has ground to stand on. But the moment you rise and declare with your actions and words, "I agree only with God," the power of witchcraft begins to crumble. Freezing salt is you cutting every hidden agreement. It is you saying, "I no longer allow these cycles in my life. I no longer agree with oppression. I no longer agree with curses. I agree only with God." And when you do this, heaven responds. The chains begin to fall because the authority of God is activated in your faith. Think about it. Salt has always been a covenant substance. In ancient times, people sealed their promises with salt because salt does not decay. It does not rot. It endures. So when you take salt before God, you are reminding yourself and declaring in the Spirit that your covenant is with Him, not with darkness. You are saying, "God, as salt endures, so my trust in you endures. As salt resists decay, so my life resists corruption. As salt preserves, so my destiny is preserved." And when you freeze that salt, you are saying, every enemy plan against this covenant is frozen and finished. Now let me speak to your house, your family, your children, your bloodline. Witchcraft often moves not only against individuals, but against generations. That is why families suffer from the same sicknesses, the same losses, the same failures. You see a grandfather who died in poverty, a father who struggled in poverty, and now children walking the same road. You see a grandmother whose marriage collapsed, a mother whose marriage was destroyed, and daughters repeating the same pain. These are not random events. These are cycles. They are chains woven through time. But the God who sits above generations can break cycles in one moment. And when you freeze salt in faith, you are not only protecting yourself, you are standing as a warrior for your entire bloodline. You are declaring, from today, the curses that moved through this family stop here. They will not flow into my children. They will not touch the next generation. They are frozen, finished, broken by the authority of God. Do you know why this matters so deeply? Because God is a God of inheritance. He blesses not only individuals, but families, generations, descendants. Witchcraft also seeks inheritance. It tries to steal blessings meant for your children, tries to pass curses instead of blessings, tries to sow destruction instead of prosperity. But you must rise and fight, not only for yourself, but for those who come after you. Your act of faith with frozen salt is not only a shield for today, it is a sword cutting off the hands of darkness from touching your tomorrow. It is you standing in the gap for your children and your children's children, declaring that their destiny will not be stolen, their light will not be dimmed, their blessings will not be corrupted. And let me give you another angle. Witchcraft uses places. It does not only follow people, it clings to homes, to objects, to environments. That is why some houses feel heavy with darkness, why some rooms carry an atmosphere of fear, why some environments never produce peace. But God, who made the earth, who blessed the ground, who declared creation good, has not given the earth to demons. He has given it to His children. And by faith, you can cleanse and seal your home. Freezing salt and placing it in your dwelling is a declaration that your house is not a playground for witchcraft, that your rooms are not open doors for darkness, that your space is holy ground where only the presence of God reigns. Do not underestimate this. Evil spirits are territorial, but when you declare your home as God's territory, they are driven out. There are some of you listening who have felt it, the strange cold in a room, the sense of eyes watching you when you are alone, the shadows that move when no one is there. Do not shrug it off as imagination. It is real. But greater than that reality is the authority of God in your life. Freezing salt is a way to declare, this house belongs to God. Every unclean spirit is evicted. Every watcher spirit is silenced. Every curse planted here is frozen and destroyed. And when you do this, peace returns. Light fills the space. The air feels different because the unseen has shifted. Do you know why the enemy works so hard through witchcraft? Because he fears your potential. He knows the power God has placed in you. He knows the doors God is about to open for you. He knows the blessings that are written in your destiny. And because he cannot stop God, he tries to stop you through fear, confusion, cycles, and curses. But when you take faith seriously, when you act with boldness, when you rise in the authority of God, every attempt of the enemy backfires. The salt you freeze becomes a mirror reflecting curses back to their sender. The salt you consecrate becomes a wall evil cannot climb. The salt you declare over your life becomes a testimony that you are untouchable under God's covering. And here is a powerful truth. God listens to faith, not form. It is not about how elaborate your action looks, but about the conviction behind it. A grain of salt frozen in faith speaks louder in the spirit than a mountain of rituals done in fear. A whisper of trust in God shakes darkness more than hours of empty repetition. Do not think you need grand displays to be free. You need faith. You need boldness. You need the fire in your heart to say, I trust God and I refuse to live under witchcraft. So let your life be a life of declaration. When you freeze salt, do not do it passively. Do it with fire in your words, with conviction in your spirit, with authority in your tone. Say, by the power of God, I freeze every curse. I freeze every attack. I freeze every work of witchcraft. They will not move. They will not grow. They will not live. And as you speak, believe that heaven is responding, that angels are moving, that chains are snapping, that evil is retreating. Because when you align your faith with God, the impossible bends, the invisible shifts, the spiritual world obeys. Beloved, listen closely now, because this is the moment where your heart must decide. You have heard the truth. You have felt the weight of the message. You have seen how God has placed authority, even in something as simple as salt, to become a reminder of His covenant, His power, and His covering over your life. Do not walk away from this message as if it were just another word spoken into the air. Take it, seize it, plant it deep within your soul. Let it transform you from the inside out. God is not far from you. He is not silent. He is speaking right now, calling you to rise, to stand, to live in the freedom He has promised. There is no witchcraft stronger than God. There is no curse greater than His blessing. There is no evil that can bind a heart that is anchored in Him. The salt you freeze becomes more than a symbol. It becomes a declaration that your life is not available to the enemy. Your house is not a dwelling place for darkness. Your mind is not a playground for torment. And your future is not a slave to evil powers. When you take this act in faith, you are saying, God, I trust you above everything else. I place my life fully in your hands. Now is the time to stop tolerating what God has already promised to destroy. Stop living like you are bound when God has given you freedom. Stop living as if you are weak when the Almighty Himself has filled you with His strength. You must walk with boldness. You must live with courage. You must decide that enough is enough, that no evil shall enter your home, that no spirit of fear shall linger in your heart, that no whisper of darkness shall direct your steps. God is your shield, your covering, your fortress, and your everlasting strength. I challenge you today. Do not let fear have the final word in your life. Do not let the voices of darkness write your story. Do not let witchcraft, curses, or the envy of others dictate your destiny. God has already written your destiny, and it is filled with light, with strength, with blessing, and with freedom. Stand on that truth. Walk in that truth. Declare that truth every morning and every night. When you wake, let your first words be filled with faith. God is with me. God is my protector. God is my strength. God is my victory. When you lay down, let your heart rest knowing that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, because God Himself guards your soul. So today, rise up with a holy fire in your spirit. Do not shrink back. Do not doubt. Do not let hesitation steal your moment. Freeze the salt not as an empty act, but as a powerful testimony of your trust in God. Let it remind you daily that you are untouchable by evil because you are covered by the hand of the Almighty. And when you take that stand, you will not only protect yourself, you will inspire others. Your family will see the light in you. Your friends will feel the strength in you. Strangers will wonder why nothing breaks you. And you will know it is because you belong to God, and no power of darkness can lay claim to what belongs to Him. The time is now. The choice is yours. Will you continue to live under the shadow of fear, or will you step into the light of freedom? Will you continue to allow witchcraft and evil to intimidate you, or will you rise as a warrior clothed in the strength of God? Lift your head, strengthen your spirit, anchor your faith. Walk forward knowing that God has already gone before you and behind you and around you. Nothing shall overcome you. Leave this moment with boldness. Leave this moment with courage. Leave this moment with fire in your soul. And never forget, God is greater than all evil. And when you stand with Him, you stand unshakable, untouchable, and forever free.